Chapter 4. Welcome back. It took a little while, but I'm back. I spent hours packing and repacking the picnic bag, making sure I didn't forget anything and that it was pretty and that it was as pretty as it could be. Now that everything was all set up, it was time to ask Shane. That was all I needed to do. I found myself putting it off. Yay! It could wait until tomorrow's lunch, after all. I stretched and stood. It was a little early, but I could probably go to bed. My phone started vibrating, and I snatched it up. Having difficulty with page 112 helped me. I blinked at my phone. Jane asking for help? I started to type back, but I was interrupted by another text. Please? Grinning, I sent my response. See you in class in 20. I hopped off of my bunk, throwing my books back into my bag. I groaned. Why are you always so energetic? Are you seriously asking me that question? Oh, are you going to ask Shane now? Asking Shane? Now would be a perfect time, but suddenly the prospect terrified me. Yeah, I'm doing it. Oh, Hannah, I wish you the very best. Jumping off her bed, I ran to her desk and flung open a drawer. After digging around in it for a while, she turned back to me. Yeah! Yeah! Small sprinkles of pink filtered through my vision. Cherry blossoms again. It worked last time, right? Yeah, I guess it did. Yeah! You'll do wonderfully. Get out there and kick his ass. Metaphorically, with love. Will do. Thanks, Mai. With a trembling smile, I headed for the classroom. It was starting to get late. Dan and I wouldn't be able to study together for long, but at least meeting up this late would ensure we were alone together in the classroom. Alone together in the classroom. Alone. Together. Snap out of it, honey! You have bigger things to worry about! When I got to the classroom, Shane was already seated inside, face in his hands. You're here!
Hey.
Yes. Thank you for helping me. No problem. I pulled out a chair opposite to Shane and grabbed my math textbook, sharing the space on his desk. So, page 112? What? Didn't you need help with the problem on page 112?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I definitely need your help, yes. Okay. Was it just me or was Shane acting weird? Shane's notebook was already open on his desk, so I pulled it toward me and examined his work. That's weird. What? I mean, all of your work is right, but for some reasons, your answers are wrong. Shane snatched his notebook out of my hands, throwing it into his bag. Forget about it, that's not important. But, didn't you need my help? No, I'm fine now. An awkward tension built up between us. Outside, the sun finally set. Night seeped into the loud emptiness of the room. I had to ask him at some point, didn't I? Maybe now would be a good time. It was so awkward. I cleared my throat, taking a deep, deep breath.
Shane!
Shane!
Hey.
You want to hang out sometime?
What?
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 What? Were you going to say something? Forget about it. What were you going to say? I was wondering if you wanted to go on a picnic with me. A picnic?
Yeah.
Yeah, a picnic. At the park. I have everything ready. Impressive. Did you make the food already too? Oh. I was just going to buy it this time, don't worry. I'm not. I'm going to make the food. You?
Yes.
Yes. Oh. Wait now?
Yeah.
Yeah, care to join me? If we store it well, it'll still be good tomorrow. Are we going tomorrow? It doesn't have to be so soon. I planned to do it that weekend, but now that it was actually happening, I found myself wanting to put on the brakes. I don't want to psych myself out. Oh, that's a good point. Let's do tomorrow. Off to school, then to the kitchens we go. Right now? Yes, right now. Let's go. Oh, okay. As we stepped out into the night's velvet darkness, Jane finally seemed to realize the time. Oh, maybe we shouldn't do it today. Tomorrow morning? And then we can go on the picnic the day after the tournament? Perfect.
Yay!
Perfect! Why don't I walk you to your dorm then? You're a perfect gentleman. As we shuffled across the sidewalk, wading through the slightly humid air, Jane suddenly grew quiet.
Hey!
Something on your mind?
Well,
And I bring my sketchbook to the picnic? Oh, right. I agreed to be Shane's model, didn't I? But surely I meant to draw the landscapes. The park's a really pretty place to draw. I mean, to draw you. There went that idea. I've been afraid to ask for a while. Why's that? Bean shrugged, one hand in his pocket. I thought you'd be uncomfortable. If you're not into it, I don't want to. I mean, it helps me too, in a way.
what?
Helps you? Serial killer tag. I'm really shy, Shane. I wasn't always this shy. I mean, I've always been shy, but after last year it just got out of control. Especially when I first came here. Yeah. It was weird to think about how hesitant and afraid I was in the beginning of the school year. I was desperate to fit in and belong. Paranoid about my hair, absolutely sure that one wrong move would make everyone hate me. Especially Shane. He had a problem with me from the start. But look where we were now. I remember. Pushing myself like this helps me become less shy. It reminds me of what I was when I was younger. I didn't realize you liked it. I wouldn't say I like it. Oh. But there are worse things in the world than being stared at for 4 hours on end by you. Yeah, well. Aw, don't hate yourself. But at the picnic, would it be too weird to bring my sketchbook? It doesn't seem like it's exactly fun to you. Give your page. You're right, don't bring it. Only if you bring your old comics too. I'm gonna do that. My old comics? He looked a bit shocked at the request, but didn't immediately deny it. Yeah, the ones about Emily. I'm just curious is all. Sure, I'll bring them. I actually have one with me. Reached into his bag, rummaged around, and withdrew a page from a folder. Yeah. Handed me the page, and I read it as we walked. There were 3 panels of a boy and a girl. Right away, it was obvious it was a romance. A pang of jealousy hit me, but I tried to ignore it. He was over her now. At least he said so. He liked her so much, he made a comic about their love. Oh, nah. I hated that it hurt. This is really cute. At least that was the truth. Even from the single page I could tell the tone of the comic. The art was really cute. There'll always be worse people. There's a good place for that. Pizza bagels. It was lighthearted, but still had a bit of bittersweet sentimentality to it. Why on earth did he think he had a hard time capturing emotion? I hope you like the other ones too. A few years later, Shane was finally starting to make comics again. He was even better now. Thinking of how great his comics could be, the possibilities were endless. We reached the entrance to Primrose House. Shane kicking the ground Well, I'll see you tomorrow then, I guess. Thank you for walking me home, Shane. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah. Me too, I guess. Anyway, I'll come cook with you tomorrow morning. Sound good? Yeah.
Bye.
Great, bye. He turned on his heel and stalked back the way he came, heading for the Bluebell house. I giggled as I watched him go. Too bad. A hot dog pizza. That's interesting. It seemed that I wasn't the only shy one. I woke early the next morning and immediately got myself ready. No, Shane was such an early riser, I figured he would be right on time to pick me up. What knock is that? It reminds me of the Great Bay Temple. Bada boom, bada boom. Probably that. And I was right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shane.
Hello.
Morning. You look exhausted. Did you sleep well at all? Majora's Mask is amazing. Majora's Mask 3D is my favorite game, my favorite Zelda game. You look exhausted. Did you sleep well at all? I wanted to take care of the plants before we started cooking.
What?
Seriously? What time did you wake up? Oh. Shane! It's fine. Ready to bake?
Yeah.
Of course I am. Shut the door and together we headed down to the kitchens, debating what on earth we should make for the picnic. We can't make only cookies. We need something of sustenance. I'm not sure what we can really bake that would give us sustenance. Cake? The one is super good. Yeah. We entered the kitchen, which was completely empty, expected. Shane and I put on apron. Not about to get gunk. Oh! Not about to get gunk on our incredibly expensive uniforms. How about tea? Sandwiches? How British of you, but that doesn't sound too bad. I want to do something to make it special though. Something like... Yeah, they all have like... There's reasons to like every single one of them, like different reasons. I really like the dark atmosphere of Majora's Mask and the side quests. Baking our own bread! Immediately Shane folded his arms, eyeing me warily. Have you made bread before? Yeah, that's actually what I was wondering too. I thought geometry was just a part of maths. Just finished Skyward Sword. I loved Skyward Sword too. Well, no, but that's what the cookbook is for, right? American school. Maybe. All we need for rye bread is dry yeast, sugar, melted butter, 2 eggs, yeast, warm milk, salt, rye flour, bleached flour, vegetable oil, and caraway seeds. Glad you went to Australian school. Algebra 1A. That's also a separate class? What we had in high school was basically you could choose between Math A and Maths A and Maths B. Maths B was more exact and more algebra-ish, which is like more important for technical studies, which is what I did. Like, I'm doing computer science. And the other stuff had different things, such as probability, I think. The Skyward Story, Twilight Princess Dungeons and Bosses, Majora's Mask, everything. Coloctus. That was the octopus. That one was pretty easy to beat, though. Like, I mean, I like bosses that are a little bit more difficult to figure out. Coloctus is the guy with the, wasn't Coloctus the one with the octopus with the giant eye? 20 different bioclasses? What? Biology. We just had one class, biology. There's oh yeah, that guy. That was awesome. Yeah, the golden one. Awesome. That was definitely a very good temple. Like the best way you could make a water temple, actually. Pentalus was the octopus. There's science. Oh, okay. Well, there's chemistry, there's physics, and there's biology, geometry, and another couple of things, probably. As I read the list off, Jane pulled together the appropriate items, all but the last ingredient. Which had us both puzzled. At 6 arms, it was the golden thing, the golden guy with the swords. You don't happen to know where these are, do you, Shane? Pointing at the words in the book, Shane stroked his chin. Caraway seeds. Hang on. Shane dove into a tall cupboard, pushing aside whatever sat in his way. Bags of chocolate chips and nuts were pressed up against each other like sagging pillows. I should stop saying Jeebus and saying that a bit too much. It's stupid. Flours and oils were shifted side to side, nearly pooling out from their containers. Puffs of powder bloomed out of the cupboard and painted the counter. No, the entire area. Around Shane Talcum wide. I closed my eyes as the cloud of flour hit me, dusting the words of the open cookbook, filling the air with its nothing smell. Jane peeped from the pantry cupboard and looked at my powdered face, presenting a tiny plastic shaker. Ta-da! Caraway seeds. They're smaller than I thought. All that for this little thing? With the side of my hand, I swept up the flour resting on the cookbook pages and flung it at Jane's forehead. A blast of white wind struck him in the face. He cringed, recoiled, shook around, all with a hint of a sneeze coming on. Okay. Quit overreacting, you turd! Look at the mess you made! Jane turned, surveying the hand and the footprints that he left in the flour. Whoops. It was such a dull response, but the solemnity in his voice made me think he was a truly sorry puppy. I say whoops all the time, too. We worked together. Shane piled in the ingredients, while I read him the instructions. We mixed the eggs, yeast, and flour. Eventually, the final product was Placed into the oven, I blew it a kiss before shutting the door. I suppose we should work on getting your mess cleaned up. He clapped his hands together, once again masking the air in a white smoke screen. I don't see why we should rush. I doubt a single loaf of bread will suffice. So what else are we going to make? We should make some more bread, or... Sorry. I tried to keep myself from laughing, but it was impossible. I kept eyeing the flour makeup I plastered over his face. Dad jokes. Nice to see you put your face on for this. Why don't we bring something sweet too? It didn't take long for us to decide on thumbprint cookies, a classic. We whipped up the ingredients we needed to make the cookies super quickly. Flour, baking powder, eggs, nothing out of the ordinary. A few minutes passed as we mixed the cookie batter. The smell of rye bread tickled our noses a lot, actually. Too much. We both knelt down to look into the oven window in an attempt to see how our bread was doing. Jane inched closer, his nose pressed up against the glass. I think it's done, isn't it? The timer hasn't gone off. It could be broken, or maybe this oven is hotter than anticipated. I shouldn't let it bake too long. Suddenly, Shane looked up at me, waiting for my command. I threw on an oven mitt and grabbed a pot holder. The power of love. Shane jumped up at my decision, snagged a pair of pot holders for himself, and gave me a reassuring nod. As I opened up the door, the smell of heating cooked caraway seeds belched out into the kitchen. Both took a huge breath, beaming at each other, and then I reached in for the pan. As I gripped it, I underestimated its length. I lifted it to the stovetop, my wrist tilted towards the pan. I hardly had time to react before Shane took the pan from my grip, rescuing me from a more serious burn. Ouch! Thanks. Oh, good. I'm proud of you, Dad. I bit my lip, trying not to betray the searing pain. How does it look? He set the pan on the rack furthest from me, glancing at it without even really seeing it. Kind of flat, but it's probably fine. How's your hand? Jane gingerly removed my oven mitt and examined my hand. I wiggled my fingers and smiled at him. It stings a little bit, but I'm more upset because it looks like you caught me. Red-handed. Jane closed his eyes. My grin grew even wider. Despite his best effort, a restrained chuckle smuggled its way out of him. Okay. You know? He grabbed my hand and wagged it in the direction of the oven. I can throw this thing back in there if you really want. No, that won't be necessary. I'm sorry. I rinsed my hand under the cold water as Shane examined the bread in the oven. Be honest, how does it look? Shane glanced from the pan to the cookbook and back, repeatedly. It looks flat. Really, really flat. Anna. I dried my hands and went to his side. What went wrong? Cover and set aside in a warm, draftless area. Let rise for up to 1 full hour. Shane walked over to some of the unused flour, popped his hand into it, walked back over to me, and smacked me on the forehead.
Yeah.
We can still eat it. We'll just have really thin sandwich pieces. A smile slid over his face. He couldn't help but smile back. Come on, let's get those cookies laid out. You have a bad joke. Some cooperation, we emptied the glass bowl onto a wax-lined tray. We rolled the dough into balls, arranging them neatly on a sheet pan. When all the cookies were laid out, we took turns pressing our thumbs into the squishy balls to make wells for the jam. Mine are so much smaller. In a spoon, we then filled the imprints with strawberry jam. That should be good for the cookies. Can you work on getting this spot cleaned up? I made sure to adjust the temperature as needed and double-checked that there was nothing notably wrong with the oven. As I brought the cookie sheet to the stove, Shane started licking the wooden spoon clean of raw cookie dough. Not quite what I asked for, but good enough. As I watched, he scooped the remainder of the dough out of the bowl and plopped it into his mouth. I watched him eat about 5 cookies worth of dough. It was time to act. Stop eating the dough, you pizza!
What?
What did you just call me? You're a pizza shit. Oh. He took an entire raw cookie directly from the baking sheet into his mouth. It's a term we use here to address people like you. You're a pizza. A piece of shit! I bopped his cheek with a wooden spoon still covered in dough, and it splattered onto his face. Now let's get these things in the oven. We popped the cookie tray into the oven. That was a Game Grumps joke, everyone. Or at least that joke was made on Game Grumps. As our last project baked, we finally cleaned the kitchen. We scrubbed dishes, bowls, silverware, wooden spoons, and everything in between. It stunk that we weren't able to watch the cookies form, but Shane and I were reminded of what our labor was all for every time we passed in front of the oven. By the time the last dish was clean, squared away, the alarm dinged. I rushed over, put my mitt in the pot holder back on, and pulled out the cookies. They were perfect. Perfectly shaped, risen, and colored cookies filled the kitchen with their delectable scents. The smell was so good, in fact, that Shane and I couldn't stop ourselves from eating a huge chunk of them, gooey, warm, and crisp. To force ourselves to stop eating them, we decided to pile them together onto one large platter. There's a bunch of plasticware on the other side of the kitchen, I think. Let me go have a look. Don't worry, I'll take them over. Leather tray in my mitted hands. Anna! Stepped forwards and onto a patch of water that splashed out of the sink. My foot slid. My eyes widened. The cookies flew into the air in slow motion. One rose just in front of me, rotating in the air, glittering like a garnet. So close! I closed my eyes tight, ready to succumb to my untimely death, but instead, on the hard floor, I hit something softer, something warmer. Shane caught me. I immediately separated from him and glanced at the floor. The cookies were spread across the room, most having landed on their jam-filled tops. They were unsalvageable. Tears pricked my eyes, but I clenched my fists and held them back. This wasn't the time. Not when we were having so much fun. A small sniffle escaped from me, and something gently pressed against the top of my head. It was a quick pat, nothing else, but it eased my heart. It's okay, we've got some sandwiches to make. I took a deep breath and straightened out my skirt, trying to stay positive. And a tournament to get ready for. It's tomorrow. Nervous? Only a little. 20 tournament points. I am. He said yeah. Awesome. I think that's enough. Only a little. I figured. We've still got class this morning. Let's make those sandwiches and head out. Oh, right. Let's get to it. Play some words. Oh. Just before we left the room, I turned to Shane, a smile plastered onto my lips.
Hey!
Hey, did you ever do anything like this with Emily? That just sounded premeditated even to my ears, and I winced as Shane caught on. Yes, I did. We dated for a few years after all. We kept together sometimes. What does that matter? Oh, it doesn't. I was just wondering. It was a stupid question to even ask. Of course he could with Emily before. They had a real relationship. One in which they relied on each other, supported each other, even kissed. You better hurry. You're going to be late. Right. Woke up the next day, butterflies flying through my stomach. Tournament. How would things go? I had months of time to prepare, but in the end I didn't spend much time practicing. Especially not compared to Ian. Would I really be able to beat him? Hey. Hey! I had to if I wanted to join the Normal Boots Club. Let me see my tournament points! But at least I had the picnic with Shane to look forward to. So as long as I didn't mess this up. These thoughts in my mind, I changed into my Asagao uniform and crept out of the room. It was early on a Saturday morning. After our late night, I wanted to let my sleep. Yeah, fuck! Let me... After Mia was minding her own business, and clicks back to this tab and sees her horrible joke out of context. Nope. Like a train wreck. I stepped out into the fresh spring air, taking a deep breath. My event was on one of the first ones to go, so I had to be there earlier than most. Plus, it took a little time to get to Higambana. I set my shoulders and started across the campus. But still, it won't let me see my tournament points. The arcade at which the tournament was being held was much smaller than I expected. It felt like I'd find some kind of convention, but instead it was a small local arcade with machines. Smaller rooms split off, which was probably where the individual competition would take place throughout the day. New map, right? A few people milled about the space, generally older folk in their 20s and 30s. I glanced at the agenda in my hand and made my way to one of the back rooms. When I entered the competition room, I found 2 chairs on an elevated platform, a computer and a projector sitting between them, and hooked up to separate controllers. Okay. Ian sat on one of the chairs, looking bored out of his mind.
Good morning.
Ian!
Hey.
It's about time you showed up. I was starting to get worried you died. Oh, it's sweet of you to be concerned. Is it? Yeah. I got into the chair next to him. A man came over to me to check my name and club affiliation. I said I was a member of the Normal Boots Club, a small surge of pride making me sit up straight as I said it. There were chairs lined up for people to watch us compete. To my surprise, the entire room was soon filled. I searched the crowd to find the Normal Boots Club. There they were! I waved quietly at Shane, but Shane stood from his chair and, as I watched, left the room. What happened? As I stared wearily into the crowd, a blur of movement caught my eye. Luke was sitting in a chair on the fringe of the audience with the rest of the Himlock Club, waving frantically at me. When he saw me looking, he gave me a big thumbs up. Ian rolled his eyes.
Really?
Would it kill you to root for your own teammate? I giggled. Finally, the lights around us dimmed and the projector started up, showing the main menu of Dumpy Doom's Revenge on the screen. Night, Darkheart. It was time to start. As the MC began his introduction and explained the rules of the game, Ian turned to me, a smirk on his face. Sure you're ready for this?
Yeah.
You bet I am! Ready to go? The man turned to us. Ian and I nodded. Then 3, 2, 1, start! Start! The game began. I immediately clicked to fill my screen with 2 more lines of blocks. Ian began working with what he had. I scanned the blocks for the pink hearts, eliminating them one by one, making combos where I could. I still wasn't advanced enough to plan out tons of combos ahead of time, but I could make it much more likely for combos to happen through probability. The pinks were all but gone. Green leaves next. Doom started flipping at the top of the screen. Ian was comboing, which meant I had a few seconds before those blocks would fall. I set the combo on top of the screen and started eliminating the orange blocks below it. Then it happened. A 6 combo jumped out at me from on the screen. My eyes crossed as I stared at it in shock. Just had to move the top block over one space. Then, as quickly as I saw it, it vanished. The blocks normal again. I thought it was Tetris attack. Panel upon, same thing. You're dead! As Ian blocks fell upon my humble kingdom, I slipped the combo into place. 2, 3, 4 combo, 5 combo, 6 combo, 7 combo, 8 combo! Ian's attacks converted into blocks and hovered above mine. I set up several more combos and waited for them to fall. 10 combo, legendary! Doom started farting out rainbows over Ian's zone, and then... blocks! So many blocks they didn't come in chunks, they came in a torrential downpour all over Ian's side, flying from left to right and back again. Ian blinked, his hands and eyes moving frantically over the screen. I wasn't sure he'd even seen something like that before. I sure hadn't. I continued to combo while this was happening, but at this point there was no need. Ian's screen filled up. He kept trying to make combos until the very end, but... game over! That was it. I won! I stared dumbfounded at the screen in front of me. Ian's mouth hung open. The room was silent. Then...
Whoa!
yeah, Hana!
Aw, yeah!
I knew you could do it! I glanced up to see the room applauding. All of it, even the Hidden Block Club. The announcer was gaping at the screen. I've never seen a score that high! Certainly I was red as a tomato. I stood to climb off the platform. Not so fast. Ian stepped in front of me, grim as always. I braced myself for his infamous sarcasm. But to my surprise, he laughed.
Hana.
That was a hell of a game, Hana. That's exactly what I wanted from you. He held a hand in the air, and I looked at it in confusion. Don't leave me hanging.
Yeah.
Oh! I high-fived him, and he clasped my hand in his. Thanks, Hana. That was fun. Yeah. A grump version of this style of game. That would be awesome. Then he disappeared into the pressing crowd. I scrambled through them as well, eager to find Shane. See? I did it! I won the tournament! I wanted to shout at him and rub it in his face for not believing in me, much as he tried to near the end. But as I scoured the room, I realized Shane wasn't there. He never came back. But why not? Oh, his event is up next. Of course, that's why. I had to go cheer him on. I dashed into the main arcade room, and a smile I couldn't wipe off plastered onto my face. By the time I found him, Shane was already sitting down next to Jeff. Jeff again? That's impossible. Jeff did speedruns. That was throughout the entire day. A large projector screen stood at the front of the room, which was lined with dozens upon dozens of chairs. Or this is right before the speedruns. This was apparently quite a popular event. Seeing the other Normal Boots members gathered together in one of the front rows, I dashed up next to them and grabbed a seat. Hana, ready for this? I sat up straight and cheered on Shane with the rest of Normal Boots as he chose his racer. Hana won. He picked Sal, an anthropomorphic salamander with black skin and orange spots, my personal favorite. He was the lightest and made sharp turns. Jeff picked Frogbert, and he was a massive frog, quite the opposite of Sal. His turns would be wide, but his acceleration speed let him go fast. He wasn't turning. Some kind of Mario Kart, or Diddy Kong's Racing, maybe. It was a hard character to play, but if you knew how to play him correctly, he would be considered the best. It was fun, and Mai loved him, but Mai was terrible with any racer. I had first-hand experience of this. Each person chose their own track, and then there was the final track, Rainbow Race. This is Mario Kart. The dazzling, multicolored spectacle inspired by the prettiest acid trip ever taken. My great surprise, rather than the regular MC presiding over the race, is that PBG stood in the front of the room and grabbed a microphone. Okay, each racer has chosen their best tracks, and now we're starting. Who do you think will be the next winner? Probably Shane. Hey, Jeff has just as much a chance as Shane does. BBG laughed. You're right. May the best men secure the win for their team. Small tap ball floating in the bubble of water wafted from the side of the screen, counting down to the start of the race. 3, 2, 1. BBG pulled out a checkered cloth and waved it wildly as the tap ball squealed, "Go!" Jeff and Shane both spun out at the starting line. What the fuck, PBG? Where'd you even get that? PBG shoved the flag to the floor and grinned sheepishly. I always wanted to do that. It's fine. Just don't do it again. The first race was Jeff's choice. It felt more like a drag race than anything else. It was one straight line, but there were a lot of obstacles to avoid on the track. Jeff won, unsurprisingly. Sal just bounced everywhere. Luckily, Shane pulled into a tie in the next race, where Frogbert's inability to make short, quick turns really pulled a number on him. Finally, it was time for the rainbow race. See the strain in Shane's face. His jaw clenched tight. You can do it, Shane! A slight smile crossed across his face, and the race was selected. BBG raised his checkered cloth again.
No!
No! 3 seconds after the word left their mouths, the race began. Shane started off in the lead for an entire lap, until Jeff hit him with a blue slime bed ahead of him. Dirty move! You snooze, you lose! Or, you Shane, you strain. Don't do this to me, Jeff. Shane was now trying to catch up with Jeff. I bit my lip. Shane, kick his ass! At first, when the game showed Jeff's name, the room didn't have enough time to react before Shane let out a huge fuck! Hidden block was taller him immediately. Aw, damn it! Jeff and Shane shook hands. You deserve the win. PBG shook his head at Shane, feigning disappointment, but I could tell he was just joking around. And there we have it. A point for hidden block. PBG immediately passed off the microphone to a waiting Wallad.
Huzzah!
Woo! Jeff rocks! The rest of Hidden Block joined in and the tournament continued. Shane and I ambled around the arcade, playing random games as time went on. We recited an almost encyclopedic knowledge of every game we encountered, so much that it made my head spin. Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know? There are only 40 copies of this cabinet in existence. No, Shane, I did not know. Finally, it was time for the MC to announce the winner of the tournament. We all crowded around him, he preened in the spotlight, a bright grin on his face. Thank you all so much for attending our tournament this year. Did we win? Shane lost his event, but I won mine. Really, there was still a chance. And the winner of this year's tournament is... the Normal Boots Club! Yay! Yes! Yeah. We did it! I screamed and clapped as we swarmed on stage. The poor MC didn't know what hit him. As he celebrated, Jared grabbed the microphone.
All right.
Everyone, I am pleased to announce that we have a new club member in our midst. Hana Mizuno, where are you? Shane took my hand and gently led me to the front of the stage. The crowd cheered as I tried to find somewhere to hide my face. Welcome to the club, Hana. Something warm and soft covered my shoulders. I turned to see Shane lifting my very own Normal Boots jacket over my shoulders, a blush lighting his face. Welcome to the club. Shane. When the celebrations finally ended, Shane and I walked back to Asagao hand in hand. I told you I could do it! You did. I'm proud of you. Are we still on for the picnic tomorrow then?
Yeah.
Of course! pick you up then. I think... Shane stopped mid-sentence, only blinking at me.
Bye.
Okay, have a good day. He turned on his heel and stalked away. Again, I hoped he wouldn't make a habit of it. Shaking my head and drawing my jacket closer around me, I headed into Primrose House. I almost couldn't sleep. I was so excited and nervous. I poked fun at me. Who gets so excited over something as chill as a picnic? Then gave me a soft pink blanket just before he turned. It's my favorite. It'll bring you lots of good luck. That in hand, I rose early and got ready for the picnic. I was still sleeping. The tournament took place the same day as one of her biggest games. I doubted she would bother getting out of bed before noon. Jane knocked right on time as always. Just before I went to the door, I passed my new Normal Boots jacket. With a grin, I slipped it over my shoulders. Newest member of the Normal Boots Club.
Hey.
I see you're up on time.
Yeah.
Of course I am. Ready to go? that would have been cool, yeah. Oh, I even remembered to pick up all sandwiches. My heart stopped as I turned to the basket in my hand. I forgot! Calm down, Hana, I've got them. He packed the sandwiches on top of the basket, and took it from me with an easy grin. Let's get going! The day wasn't as warm as I would have liked, but at least it was sunny out. The weather report was right, for once. As Shane and I made our way to the picnic field, we traded jokes and comeback. We prepared for today. I was definitely going to impress him. Okay, so have you heard this one? Did you know, in the 1999 game, The Tour of Worlds, hackers have been able to dismantle the code in the game to extract symbols? Oh yeah, that was actually in The Tour of Worlds too. Jeez, fine. But, did you know they recently cryptographed the symbols and found out they formed a secret phrase?
Really?
Really? It said, I bet you can't decode this. She made a noise akin to something coming out of a horse. Dicks. What's even the point? I know, I want it to be something more meaningful. It's my Santum Studios, right? Terrible. Though, good fact. I didn't know that. I beamed, happiness blooming within me. Yeah. That was sweet, yeah. I beamed, happiness blooming within me. Hey, don't let it go to your head.
Hey.
Does this spot look good? Anywhere is fine. It's up to you. Let's set up over there then. Set the basket down in the grass. Shane hung the pink blanket over his arm. Reminiscent of a butler. Can you lay the blanket down while I get the plate set up? It was colder than I imagined it would be, but I spent so long preparing that there was no way anything big would go wrong. I should be more confident in myself. That's what I thought. Right as I pulled 6 spoons out of my basket. There were only supposed to be 2. Something wrong. Jane flapped the blanket open. We watched it float to the ground like a butterfly. Yeah, actually, there are 6 spoons in here. Jane shrugged. So? No, you don't understand. There are 6 spoons. That means... My hand searched the rest of the basket, almost frantically. That means there are no forks. That's it? We can make do with that. We don't have many fork-worthy items anyway. Sit down and started helping me unload the basket. Put a hand out to stop them.
No.
I need to check if anything else is wrong. My voice wavered, but only slightly. Jane sighed and reached behind. Out of his backpack, he pulled a fork. I brought this just in case. Case what? In case. You can use it. Alright, thanks. I accepted the fork, but still. It wasn't that I needed the fork, it was that I forgot it in the first place. Something else was bothering me, too. I didn't really want to bring it up, but maybe if I clarify it, the niggling doubt would go away. Shane, did you ever go on a picnic with Emily? This isn't going a good way. Shane's eyes narrowed.
No.
No, I didn't. Why? I was just wondering. You're not still worried about her, are you? I left England to get rid of her, remember? Yeah, I remember. Anna, please, tell me the truth. Are you still worried about Emily? Thank you. Yes, I am. I should be honest. I took my head, somewhat ashamed. Now you've told me otherwise, but I don't know that there's anything I can do to convince you that it's not true. I don't either. Maybe can you give me some time? It might be that all I have to do is learn to trust you more. I'm not sure if that'll work, but would you bear with me until then? Jane searched my face for a few seconds. Something like fear shimmering in his eyes. Then he nodded. Thank you. How about we eat? I tried my best to push it out of my mind, taking our sandwiches from the basket. I might have messed up, but at least I knew these were good. Jane helped me make them, after all. Turkey and avocado for me, ham and cheese for Shane. As I relished my first bite, I tried not to worry. Jane was right, it wasn't a big deal. The cool breeze invigorated me, and I decided that I was going to have a good time no matter what.
Hey.
How's the sandwich? Good! I smiled, covering my mouth in case there was something in my teeth. As I did, a small wind kicked up. It was a chilly wind, and I shivered. Then a drop of water hit my glasses. Is it raining? Shane paused mid-chew, putting his palm into the air. I don't feel anything. Thinking, I gazed up again. There were some clouds, but they were mostly the fluffy white ones. Right, I need to calm down. It was hard to stay optimistic at this point. He must have noticed the look on my face because he slipped his hand into mine. Ah! I smiled at the ground, willing my palms to stay dry. Sorry if my hand is sweaty. You were worried about the same thing? A devilish idea came to my mind. I did the best to hide my grin. Just like you just washed your hands and barely dried them. Shit! He released his already loose hold and tried to wiggle out of my grasp, but I held on. Nope! Don't worry about it, really. The cold drop hit the top of my head and I looked up. Dark clouds were moving in fast above us, like God drawing a blanket over the sky. Another drop splattered against my cheek. No. Looks like it's gonna rain.
No!
No, the weather report said it's sunny all day!
Well,
Sometimes those can be wrong, Hana. I let go of his hand and held my palm toward the sky, daring another drop to fall. Jane's eyes were on the sky as well. Weather reports aren't always accurate. The dark clouds pillowed above us. I still refused to believe it. Jane put his hand out for me to hold. Let's just go back to the dorm. We can have a picnic another day. It's not a big deal. That's not the problem. I know we can have another picnic any day, and I know I can make more fish sticks and crumpets and...
what?
Crumpets? You're still on about that? I just wanted one thing to go right, Shane. Just one thing. Everything I tried to do for you with you ends up a total mess or almost killing you. Oh, you're almost at the end. Maybe some of it was bad luck, but after a while the only conclusion was that I was the problem. A gust of wind blew through. Several droplets landed on me, dotting the lenses of my glasses. Shane seemed at a loss, and I didn't blame him. Not only was the picnic being ruined by the rain, but now I was ruining it with my stupid emotional outburst. And now I'm making it even worse! My voice cracked. Anna, the dam broke. My tears fell freely, as did the rain, right on cue. Shane put a hand around my shoulders, but even through bleary eyes I could see his jacket getting wetter and wetter. I shrugged off his touch. From the first moment you met me, you absolutely hated me. When I wanted to join the club, you warned everyone against me. When I was asked to be in the tournament, you told me I couldn't do it. I made those crumpets. Those damn crumpets. The last thing I wanted was to cause you pain. Fat lot of good that did. I blinked.
What?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying. That didn't do much good, did it? You've kind of been wrecking things around me from day one. What he said was true, but did he really have to say it? Mm-hmm. I prefer being alive, yeah. That's the best. You really have to say it? It stung. I'm disagreeing with what you were saying in the beginning. You're right. You've been nothing but trouble from the start. That wasn't... I just wanted to make you happy. I know, Hana, and you did. Kind of. It's not your fault that things went the way they did. I like you a lot, Hana, but... But? What? What kind of butt could there be after I like you a lot? Shouldn't we just stop there? I know you're not going to like this, but I think girls with pink hair are dangerous. I told you that Emma was the same way, right? Everything gravitates around her. Government agencies, evil villains. I was suspicious that she was secretly a magical girl. And that was why I was getting kidnapped all the time. When I got to know you, I thought things could be different. Maybe your reality warping powers were better than hers, because you were a kinder person. After all, your powers have only gotten you a life of misery. Your mother, your father, your old school. It wasn't until you came here that you started getting lucky. But then the events turned on me. They wanted to cause you suffering, but now they're working through me. So you accidentally insult me, you injure me, you almost kill me. Now even on the best of days, it rains. Yet the best it'll ever be, I'll still get rained on. What are you saying? I don't understand. I don't even think what you're saying is true. You sound like you're crazy. It's just... I think if I keep seeing you, I'll be in danger. I don't feel safe around you. I'm... sorry. He stood up. Watched him from where I sat, completely stunned. I can't do this, I'm sorry. But... Jane walked away, out across the field and toward campus. He didn't even glance back at me. I didn't understand it. Things were going so well, but in the end, my pink hair was the problem? He left because he had crazy delusions that I was somehow magical and the fates of the world would conspire to kill him? I didn't understand it. I kept saying, he's a nutter, you're better off without him. As much as she said it, doubt still pounded through my mind. What had I done to earn my friendship with the Normal Boots Club? To even earn my scholarship to Asagao Academy? By all means, someone who left school for a full year shouldn't have gotten a scholarship to one of the most prestigious schools in the country. Over time, my doubts deepened. I started feeling like anything bad that happened to anyone was my fault, even though I couldn't prove it. Anything good that happened was something I didn't earn. It wasn't long before I chose to leave the academy and go back home. Well, I didn't want me to leave. Even Shane seemed sad that I was going. But I had some things I needed to figure out. That was that. Bad end. Whoo! Okay then. Whew. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll see you guys in a bit, and then we're gonna go for the true end. The best one.